Hey everybody, DB Moto here. Well, I got about 1,500 kilometers on the bike now, and I'm a little bit overdue for my first service, so I thought I'd do an oil change here just so everybody can watch. I'll do all the other stuff, checking bolts, checking torques and all that stuff off camera. It's kind of a boring part, but yeah, let's get to it for the oil change. Okay, this is what we're looking at here. So we got the oil filter here. This is the fill hole. Down here we have the sump plug, and I got the kickstand just up on a couple blocks to keep it a little more upright. Right now you can't see the fill level, but if I tilt it, there you can see it. It's pretty dark oil. Should have done this a little sooner, but I've just been a little busy, that's all. So first thing we're gonna do is open up the fill hole just to relieve some pressure here. So I'll just crack that a bit, and we'll get the container for the oil right here. Okay. Looks to me like a 15 millimeter. It's not, it's just a little bigger. Didn't win this time. Check the 17. You got it. Now obviously whenever you do an oil change, you want the oil to be a little warm. I just had to ride to the automotive store here to get spark plug socket for my wife's car. I just did her spark plugs, so oil should be warm enough. Let's see what we got going on here. Hopefully it's not hot and burns my hand. That loosened off. Sure did. Just a little bit on the hand, it's not super hot. There's always one that's super torqued. A little bit more drainage out of here, so be mindful of that. There is a spring pushing on this this cap, so I have to touch the hot cap. I suppose I could use my rag here, but it's too late because I got it. All right, so yeah, just a little more drainage. So there's a spring right there in the cap. You want to make sure that spring stays with it. I've seen people dump their spring into the oil basket, not realize it, and then put it all back together without the spring. And of course, that's going to make your filter not seat properly. We also have this O-ring here. Now the O-rings, I've seen a little bit of debate about this, but the general consensus is unless your O-ring is misshapen, you don't really need to change it out. So maybe do it after 3 or 4 changes. But mine, brand new bike, 2020, and first service, it's in pretty good shape here. So I'll just clean it off with the old oil, and I'll prep it with the new oil when I get that going. Filter can come out now. Looks like a dirty oil filter. There's something in there. Might just be sludge. I'll inspect that a bit later. And there's another O-ring that sits just in there. I'll take that out and clean it as well. Looks like nothing else is dripping out of the bike. It's pretty much good to go here. So we'll wipe this out. Gonna pull that O-ring out and clean it off. Get all that excess old oil. Make sure there's no fuzzies from my rag. Looks good. Last thing I'll wipe down is just this cap here. Here's a pro tip for everybody. Replace the sump bolt before you add the new oil. Now, another debate online is whether or not you should replace that crush washer in there. I've seen guys say that they've gone 50, 60,000 kilometers and used the same crush washer every time. Like I said, this is a brand new bike, so I feel like I can get a little bit of life out of it. No sense in spending the extra money now. But if you do buy an oil change kit off of ProCycle or like a Suzuki branded one, you will get a new washer and I believe new O-rings with all of those. All right, here's the new filter, High Flow Filtro number 137. That's the old one there. It's got a stamp on it, 9FB. I don't know what that means, but this was the one OEM right out of the factory. Doesn't appear to be K&N. It's got a logo there on it. I don't know what that is though. All right, obviously the whole side goes inwards like that. I still haven't put that O-ring yet in. I haven't forgotten that. I'm just kind of showing here how that goes in. And it seems to be a little tighter fit than the other one here, but yeah, it does look all the same. It's just got that extra hole in it because it's high flow and the holes inside are a little larger as well. As for oil here, we got the Motul 4-stroke motor oil 10W40 mineral oil. Now the question everybody has, mineral versus synthetic. Comes out of the factory with mineral oil. Synthetic, it's not that you'll get longer life out of it. I think it's just a little easier on the engine and gear changes. I don't know any different right now, so I'll stick with mineral, but maybe next time I'll go with synthetic and see what I get. So first thing I'm going to do with the new oil is, well, I'm going to wipe off this O-ring because it got a little dirty from the floor. I'm just going to oil up this O-ring, put her back in. We'll just put the new filter in there. Kind of sits like that for a little bit. I'm going to clean this O-ring off again. Lube it up. Seat it inside the cover here. Just like that. Spring on. Let's wipe it off first. Still has some old oil on it. Okay, let's make sure this goes on not upside down. Find that groove, just like that. And we'll screw these in by hand right now, just to get them in. You kind of want to do them all evenly. Don't want to tighten one entirely and then do the next one. It's not going to seat properly if you do that. Now before you torque on the sump plug, you should let it reach the temperature of the case, just so you don't have any seating issues. So this has been back in the case for about 5 minutes now. It's warm to the touch, so I feel like it's probably good to go here. And you're looking for 17.5 foot-pounds. I believe that's 24 Newton meters. And there we go. The oil filter bolts, they get about 7.2 foot-pounds, 10 Newton meters. I don't have a torque wrench that goes that small, so I just did hand tight with about a quarter turn after that. Now it says right here 2,300 milliliters of new oil. The owner's manual actually says 2,400 milliliters. I think that's because 23 goes in here and then about 100 goes into the filter housing. I'll start with about 23. My bottle is 4 liters and doesn't have the best indicator. You can kind of see there on the side, so we're right up here. So that's 1 US gallon, 3 liters. Doesn't really have the notch for 4 liters, so man, it looks like they kind of ripped me off some oil here if that's 3. And again, it is smaller up here, so should go higher. That's about 1 liter. One and a half. Just about 2. That should be about it right there. Put the filler hole back in, filler hole cap, I should say. Check the level right now. Before running it. And yeah, it looks a little high, but we're gonna get all that oil going through. I mean, it didn't overflow, so that's always a good sign. Can we see it in the hole, I wonder? Nope, not quite. No overflowing is a good sign. We'll start it up, we'll let it run for a little bit. We'll let it rest and see what the level's at. All right, that's been running about 3 minutes there, so we'll let it sit for a minute or 2 and we'll check the oil level. Okay, let's take a look, shall we? Tilt her up. It's about up right there. No, not quite, we're still on the block. Yeah, there we are. So, right between the lines, and I'm happy with that. And that's how you do an oil change on the DR650. So, thank you everybody for watching. Go follow me on Instagram, db.moto.adv, and I'll see you in the next one.